Introduction. Under the background of the new normal economy, China's population development also shows a different development trend than in the past, which has an important impact on the future trend of China's economy. It is mainly reflected in the following 5 aspects: the negative growth of the total population, or the negative impact on economic growth at a very low level of growth. The reduction of the number of labor force will have a dual impact on the economy: the deepening of aging, the persistent low fertility rate, the imbalance of population structure. China is a country with a large population in the world, and its large population size and its changes and development have a significant and far-reaching impact on China's economy and social development. With the rapid development of economy and society for decades, the demography situation of China has also undergone tremendous changes. The demography dividends has gradually disappeared. The rapid aging of the population and other problems have gradually emerged. 2017 is the second year of the implementation of the comprehensive two-child policy, and the number of people born in China has declined compared with the previous year. The main factors that determine economic growth are capital accumulation, labor input, and technological progress. However, whether it is technological progress, capital accumulation, or labor input, it will be directly affected by the aging structure of the population.
Hello everyone, my name is Su Tong. Now I will present 2.0 analysis. With the end of China's demographic dividend period, the population advantage once possessed will gradually disappear. With the passage of time, the defect of the family planning policy and the problems brought by it have gradually emerged. The rapid aging of the population, the shortage of labor force, the continuous low fertility rate, and the human capital structure will affect the sustainable development of China's economy in the future. About population aging, no country has experienced such a rapid aging process as China. China's population is still aging at an accelerating rate, thanks to the loss of an inverted pyramid of family planning and a persistently low fertility rate. About shortage of labor force, if the fertility rate continues at the ultra-low level, China's future labor supply will rapidly decrease with the decrease of new population. Even if the labor quality and the technological process are improved, the total labor force will not be able to match the current economic scale. About persistent low fertility, China's total fertility rate has been below the ultra-low fertility rate of 1.3 for 5 consecutive years. China adjusted the family planning policy in a planned way. We hope to adjust the population structure and maintain a reasonable labor force reserve on the premise of stabilizing the population size. About human capital for the future development of China's economy. Human capital is one of the elements of sustainable development of China's economy. The fertility policy has a positive impact on China's human capital accumulation, mainly due to the improvement of human capital quality. The impact of fertility policies on human capital is also beginning to change. The impact on the structure of human capital should be paid more attention to. China formed a unique population age structure distribution over the past 30 years. This demographic structure has made a very important contribution to China's economic and social development. However, with the end of the peak population period, China's labor force population began to decrease. The aging of the population is accelerating. The total population will also begin to decline. The structural characteristic of the population has a turn point. Therefore, the future population structure will have a certain negative impact on China's economic development.
Discussion. The point of discussion population aging, where China, one of country that have a large population and different demographic pattern. However, China, one of the developed country, but can survive. How this can happen? The answer is elder people in China have saving for their elder life and can survive their family, and China, one of main supplier country in the world, in other words, driver of world economy. However, population aging still affect economic growth, where when high amount of elder people from young people that will give bad impact to economy distribution, retirement, pension, and immigration. How the population aging affect economy in China? Population aging can affect by two reasons. First, population aging, that means more elder people that tend to stop work. Secondly, amount of saving different in terms of age. People that age have the capability to work tend to saving more than elder people who just live in the house and cannot work. They have a little income from their family or government incentive that enable them to saving. However, elder people not participate in labor force. Unemployed people will be take that position because in China there is a lot of opportunity to get work. Okay, other point is insufficient labor supply. If a lot of elder people, normally they will not enter labor force. If there is a lot of young people, for short term labor supply will be lower, but in the future there will changes in the labor supply, it is high. So currently have more young people, not very benefitable, but in the future it will give advantage to the country. Thus, in this discussion, there is effect of insufficient labor supply to the economic growth. In China, labor force participation will be high. It is because a low fertility. Family, especially women, will decide to not give a birth because their willingness to work high, where the wages is high. Based on current situation in China, one of country that will attract immigrants to come to this country to find a job, and some of population will back to rural area when the economy becomes slowly because of increasing elder people. When the immigrant increasing, the potential to money out from country will be high. Significant China has underemployed labor. In long time, people who live in the rural area will take place to enter labor force in the cities. In addition, there is indicators that amount of women enter labor force will be high, and there will
economic development.
Hello everyone, I'm XINYUE. Today I will talk about the discussion, and my topic is the impact of low fertility rate and the demographic imbalance on China's economic growth. And the first point is reason for China's low fertility rate. That because since China reform and opening up in 1978 with the continued economy and the social development of China and the 40 years of family plans, the birth rate of women have also dropped to a record low. And the second point is that low fertility rate threatens China's economic growth. According to the statistics, in November 2019, a survey of 353 companies in Sichuan and found that 57.8% of people encounter difficulty at work. Part is due to the decline in the work age population. The fertility rate directly affect the lack of labor. The third point is population change and the aging. The fertility rate continue to fall. First of all, the impact of China's population change is that the annual net increase, the population gradually decreased, and the China's population is shown negative growth. And the second is accelerate the aging rate of China population. Next is about 3.4, the impact of demographic imbalance on China's economy. One of the biggest problems in China population and structure, gender imbalance. There is more men than women in China. And about 3.4, the first point is about the cause of gender imbalance. First, economic factors are one of the reasons for gender imbalance. The economic benefit created by men are gradually higher than those of women, and the men also have advantage in enter higher education and employment. And second is the development of science and technology. It has become very easy to distinguish between men and women. And about second point, saving rate have been increased. In China, it is customary for men to have a house, a car, and a deposit to get married, and a couple with higher proportion of men. And the country overall saving rate have risen significantly. And about the third point, female employment difficulty. China's large population, basic, sufficient labor force, and fierce market competition has caused the number of laid-off work to increase year by year. So among the laid-off and the unemployed, the proportion of laid-off female work far exceeds that of male workers. Due to the philosophic reason, women occupy time in marriage and children birth make it more difficult for women to find employment. And about last point is raising house price. Housing is one of the prerequisites of marriage, and its commercial characteristics are become more and more obvious. It is traditional in China that men buy house and women don't need to buy house, which make men's demand of house continue to increase because the proportion of men is greater than women. And so this in turn promotes the development of real estate industry and drives the rise in housing price.
Hello everyone. My name is Liu Yi, and I'm going to give you some examples. As we know, many problems caused by the aging of the population. The vast rural elderly population faces the dilemma of not being able to rely on the state or their children to provide for the elderly. The aging of society brings challenges to the national finance and the provision of social public goods. The aging of society has caused people to reserve more funds to meet medical needs of the elderly. Let's move to the cases of demographic imbalance. An aging society is an inevitably faced problem in the development of a country, but due to implementation of a family planning policy in China, the aging of Chinese society has spread rapidly. After the implementation of comprehensive two-child policy in 2016, the number of births in 2017 not only did not increase by 3.43 billion of expected, but fell by 630,000. In 2018, not only did the number of births not increase as expected by 790,000. On the contrary, the number of live births nationwide decreased by 2.5 million people. According to calculations based on the structure of woman childbirth age, the fertility rate in 2018 may be only 1.05%, or even a negative growth of nearly 300,000, which is the first time in recent decades. For the last one, the statistics on decline fertility rate. At the same time, my country's population fertility rate has been on a downward trend, and the fertility rate directly affects the total population. Let's move to the next part. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Yang YIBO. I'm going to present the conclusion. In conclusion, we should treat the impact of population on China's economic growth dialectically. It is undeniable that since China's economic reform and opening up, the spatial population structure with Chinese characteristics has made a great contribution to China's economic development. With the decline of demography dividend, China's labor supply began to decrease. The aging population and the imbalance of population strata began to intensify. Therefore, China's population structure will have a negative impact on China's future economic development. China's current population problems are as follows. Number 1. China's low fertility rate threatens economic growth. The decline of birth rate leads to the loss of labor supply and the gradual decline of annual net population growth rate. China's aging population has accelerated significantly and is moving towards negative population growth. Imbalance of China's population sex ratio leads to high saving rate, rising house prices, affecting women's employment, and other economic problems. There is no doubt that the existing population problem has a certain negative impact on China. If these population problems are not solved, China's economic development will be greatly hindered. Fortunately, China has made corresponding countermeasures to these population problems, such as opening up the two-child policy and delaying the retirement age. It is expected that China's economic development will be better after the population problem is solved.